If you are early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. If you're late, you're fired.
In this video, we're covering 10 of the essentials of working as a production assistant in the film industry. I've worked on tons of student film sets and music videos, and Alec has worked on several of your favorite TV shows, including
The Marvelous Miss Maisel, Power Book 2 Ghost, and The Bachelorette.
So let's get into it, starting with the first essential of how to read a call sheet. Where do we start, Alec?
Usually the night before, like let's just say 12 hours before call time, you will get a call sheet, which is a really helpful piece of paper, but it can be a little bit intimidating.
Now, what are the exact key sections we should look at on a call sheet?
Yeah. So once you have the location schedule dialed in, from that information, you're going to go find yourself where it says crew. Sometimes this is on the second page or at the bottom of the first page. And if you're a production assistant, you're going to be under production. So that'll be one of the first crew cells that are on there. And so one other thing that we want to take a look at is if they put in additional documents, it'll be really important for PAs to look at this. Usually it'll basically show you like where things are, and PAs constantly get asked, where's the honey wagon, where's Crafty, etc. And this will kind of help you diagnose, okay, here's where I can park, here's where I should know where the trucks are that I can go help out, etc., etc. So just look through all the documents that you're sent, and I would say print all this information.
Let's get into the next essential, prepping the night before.
And what I do is Google Maps has this thing where you can say arrive by. So you'll actually know your call time and location. You'll map from your house to this place and then arrive by, and you can set the date and time, and Google Maps will give you a range, right? It'll be like 30 minutes to an hour, 30 minutes. Always do the longer part of that range.
Yeah, that's a good tip. I've never used that feature.
Yes, it is kind of clutch. If you are early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. If you're late, you're fired. This is my go bag. This is crucial. The one thing that I want to start with is the phone is the most important thing. So let's start with the phone cord. I've been on sets in New York where I subwayed to set. I used Google Maps. I didn't actually know how to get there without Google Maps. And then my phone died. And then I had the fun opportunity of figuring out how to get home late at night after a long day.
Go hit a bodega to get a charger or something.
Exactly. I have literally done exactly that. I like to have an expo marker. This is also kind of optional, but just like a lot of times they have laminated pieces of paper on set. So it's nice to have an expo so they can wipe it off. Sharpie, you will use this thing every day. And then I like to also have a pencil in case there's any paper that needs to be written on. And then, especially if you live in California and you're doing exteriors and you're doing lockdowns, sunscreen is crucial. Make sure you know what SPF is gonna work best for you. Make sure you're reapplying. But I have walked away from sets with like the worst sunburns ever, like worse than like just me going to the beach, because you're standing in the sun for literally all day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So one thing that I kind of recommend is actually having an Aperture MC in your bag, or just any kind of like magnetic light. I've actually found this super helpful, where you can just stick it to stuff. And I was on a set where I basically had to fix a smoke detector, and it was like in the dark corner of this room and I couldn't see anything. And I was on this ladder. I couldn't figure out how to like rig my iPhone to like put light up at the smoke detector. So I just stuck this onto the ladder itself, and it was like super clutch. So this is just a nice little tool to have. It's not super necessary, but in earnest, I actually use it. So I would recommend
those Aperture MCs, they always come in handy. I use them for tons of random things too. So it's always good to have in your kit.
Exactly. And then a multi-tool is probably one of the most important things you can have in your kit. And then the last thing, and you're gonna be like, what the heck is this? Ziploc bag. This Ziploc bag is so crucial because a lot of times the producer's giving you petty cash or a credit card to go buy things when you're going on a run or whatever it is, and you want to have it in a Ziploc bag. One, if you just throw it in your wallet, you might get confused whose cash is whose. You can get in trouble with the producer. And two, if it rains, if there's weather, you have everything in the same place. So if you're getting receipts, if you're getting change, just throw it in the bag.
The next thing I would probably rock is closed-toed shoes. I wouldn't go with flip-flops.
What I always say is comfortable closed-toed shoes that have rubber soled. Flip-flops are total no-go. You want to make sure that you're wearing closed-toed shoes because they're heavy things on film sets, and if they fall on your toes, it's not going to feel too good.
Now let's talk about the last crucial step of prepping the night before, and that's a good night's rest.
Figure out what you need to do to maximize sleep. Make sure your alarm is set. Get as much sleep as possible. Don't mess around the night before. Don't show up to set hungover. It's just not a good idea.
The next essential, you're on set, it's the first hour. What do you do?
So the first thing I try to do, find our department head. And so this is basically whoever you're going to be reporting to for the day. It's a little bit hard to tell, but try to find someone in production. Feel free to ask around politely, like, hey, have you seen anyone in production? Have you seen any assistant directors? And then they'll kind of help you figure out where to go. If you have a little bit of extra time in the morning before there's like, we're really getting into it, what do you usually do, Max?
Maybe grab a snack, breakfast if they have it, or lunch if you started later in the day, and then just get your bearings. Maybe apply a little sunscreen if you're working outside, and just get prepared to put that work in for like 12 hours.
It's a good time to sort of like mentally get yourself ready. And I love what you said about having a bite to eat. We were talking about that a second ago, but I think it just kind of gets your system ready for the day. Again, you know yourself better than anyone. For me, being on sets in New York for so many years, I have to eat a plain bagel with no cream cheese to start my day every day, any set, no matter what. It's just those carbs to like wake up my system, let it know like, hey, we're going. And then that's just stuff that I can burn off throughout the day. Act like you know what you're doing. And this may come off as a little strange, but it's actually like when I'm on sets, I can kind of tell when a production assistant, like it's their first day and they're kind of wandering around a little bit aimlessly, like they don't really know what they're doing. If you're always sort of walking with a purpose or doing something with just kind of like that sense of like, I know what I'm doing, or you have an extra water to go hand out to somebody, it's actually just going to make you look like you know what you're doing. And I know it sounds a little intangible, but keep it in the back of your head. If you find yourself kind of like wandering or on your phone, see if you can do something active that looks like it's productive. And a lot of times people will be like, oh, this person's dialed in. It'll bode well for you. And be friendly. This is like something people barely ever talk about, but if you're just friendly and nice to everyone, they'll be more inclined to talk to you, and you just never know what will happen based on that.
I like that note about acting like you know what you're doing, but I'd also say be willing to ask questions, because there's nothing worse than saying you know how to do something and then being put to the task.
100%.
Not going well at all. So don't be afraid to ask questions.
Let's talk about, you got your walkie, what are we doing?
Well, the first thing I would say is to figure out what channel you need to be on. If you're on the wrong channel, you're going to miss all the crucial information for the day. So you're on the right channel, it's time to do a walkie check. So first you activate the walkie and you say, walkie check, and then what else do you say?
I'm going to respond if I heard what Max said and say good check. Then he'll also know if he heard me, my walkie's good to go. And then we're both good.
Now we're cruising. Now we're working. Now, we were talking about some film set lingo. What's some lingo we can hear over the walkie channels?
Probably the thing that you're going to hear the most on a film set is 10-1. Do you know what this means?
Yeah. I got to go to the bathroom.
Yes. I am stepping off walkie for a short-ish amount of time. That's why 10-2 is I'm stepping off walkie for a little bit longer, if you catch my drift.
Your mileage may vary, though.
Exactly. Give me 10-4. It's not what you think, based on what we were saying.
I think 10-4, it means I got it, copy. You know, it's just like in the movies, 10-4, good buddy.
Exactly. If I just told Max something over the walkie and he's going to go do it, he's going to say 10-4.
And then finally, you might hear the term 86, which means no longer needed. So it could be an object, it could be something on set, it could be a lens, it could be so many different things. But 86, crucial to understand. Get whatever they're talking about off the set.
So those are some of the things you're probably going to hear when on the walkie. But let's go over some of the essentials that PAs need to know.
All right, let's get into it. The first one I think of has to do with safety, and it's points. So what does points mean on set?
Yeah, points are crucial. It means someone is coming through with basically an object that can hit you, that can poke you, whether it's a C-stand, speed rail, whatever it is. So, hey, points, that means wherever they just said that, I'm going to be cautious of that area because they might hit me with that object.
Striking is another one.
Striking.
What does striking mean?
We've all been on the wrong side of a striking. Striking means someone from the electric team is turning on a light, and it basically means avert your eyes. Striking, the light comes on, you don't want to be looking at the light or it's going to blind you for a second. Hot brick is a charged walkie battery, and then when that battery dies, it is now called a cold brick, and you're going to swap those out, make sure that everyone on set has their walkie ready to go. What is the best film term of all?
Martini.
Yes.
It's the last shot of the day.
Yes.
You can't quite go home yet, but you can get ready to go home.
If you're a PA, maybe not. You may have to help with wrap.
So with the lockup, you're not letting anyone pass around the film set. So oftentimes you'll see streets shut down and you'll see PAs on the corner saying, hey, we're doing a shot right now.
What are the key responsibilities of a PA? What does a PA do, really?
First of all, we talked a lot about walkies, passing out walkie batteries. That's a huge one.
Yeah.
The next key responsibility is being a bridge between different departments on set.
Yes, you are a liaison. You are like a blood cell, making sure everything is running smoothly. So people are always going to come to you for questions. The producers can't be everywhere. The assistant directors can't be everywhere.
And you're doing a little bit of everything when you're a production assistant. So passing out waters, snacks, pretty much anything the production needs. You got to help out with it. Another key essential of being a production assistant is understanding how long your day is going to be.
Yeah. And it's hard to predict. It's hard to know.
It is hard to predict.
We do what we can. There is no union in the United States for production assistants currently. They're not under IATSE. So we are really not protected. The only protections that you have is literally your state's labor laws, and producers will try to break that. Trust me. So you really don't know when you walk onto set. Your day could be 6 hours. Your day could be a day.
Doing a run.
Runs is basically anything where we need to leave set to go get something, right? First of all, try to avoid taking your own car. If production approaches you, Max, and asks you, hey, can you go do a run with your own car? What's your first instinct?
My first instinct, personally, I would say no problem. But what I would do is I would take a photo of the mileage. I would take a photo of the entire circumference of the car, just so we know what damage was there before and what damage is there after, in case there are any issues at all.
Exactly. If you are going to be doing a run for production, make sure you're comfortable with the size of a vehicle. You could be driving, a regular minivan, or you could be driving a 15-foot box truck. So have those conversations with the producers. Be open about what you're comfortable with. Never put yourself in an unsafe situation.
Safety first. Now let's talk about another essential of being a production assistant, and that's knowing red flags. Where are the red flags and what are they?
Everywhere. Producers are always bringing up red flags. I want to tackle this talking about two different categories. If you're getting paid versus getting unpaid. If you're working unpaid on a set, the unspoken bond is I'm here for experience. I'm here to meet people and make connections. So these are some red flags that I think producers might try to make you do, but I would try to rally against or just see if they can be avoided. Number one is driving at all for production, going on runs at all. That's why they pay people. That's why there's a transportation department. That's why they're Teamsters. If you're forced to basically be doing lockdowns the whole day, be fire watching, or just be posted up at base camp, kind of doing nothing, this again defeats the whole purpose of coming onto set unpaid. And I know that producers want to do that because they might want someone more experienced to be sort of in the action. But the whole reason you're there is to see what's going on and get a feel for it. So I would say this is something where you can ask, hey, can we rotate? Can I rotate in and out with people? And just make sure you get on set and actually get a chance to meet and interact with people. I think that's super important.
Yeah, because the way I see it, at the end of the day, if you're doing an unpaid production assistant job, you're there to learn. It's kind of like an internship for a day or a few days. On the other note, if you're on a paid gig, for example, here are some other red flags. Operating any vehicle you're not comfortable with. Maybe performing a high-level task that you're not quite comfortable with and you don't really have that much experience with. For example, pulling focus, operating a $60,000 camera or a very expensive camera. There's so many red flags for when someone is asking you to do something that's completely outside your expertise.
Let's talk about getting paid.
Yeah,
right?
Another key essential of being a production assistant is getting paid for the work.
Yeah, and it's harder than it sounds.
Talk to me about the payment process.
Yes. So a lot of times when you're getting hired onto a set, you'll get something called a deal memo. And that basically outlines your scope of work, how much you're getting paid, kind of how you're getting paid, etc. So a really popular thing that's sadly kind of been normalized in the film industry is net 15 or net 30. And that basically means that production has 15 days or 30 days after the last day of production to get you paid out. What happens if you don't get paid after the net 15 or net 30? Call your state's labor department and report their LLC, their production company, whoever was supposed to pay you. Just let them know, hey, this is the problem that I'm having. This is the amount. Show as much documentation as you can. They are going to be the most effective way to pay for it, or they're just going to have to shut this company down. And that's the reality. And that has happened. I know that we talked about this money and all these great things, but how do you actually get on set? And then once you're on set, how do you stay on set?
Yeah, so finding gigs. I mean, I found a gig one time just from renting a piece of equipment on ShareGrid in LA.
That's crazy.
The guy who rented me it was a Zoom audio recorder just asked me, hey, do you want to work on this music video? And it turned out to be a cool gig. So you never know where you'll pick up a gig from. So that just furthers the point that you need to be friendly and network with pretty much anyone you see, because you never know who you'll run into and who you might work with in the future.
Connections are everything. Every bigger set that I've been on has just been sort of like a Hail Mary connection. And let's talk about 3 websites that some are better than others that you might be able to use to get on set for the first time.
Number 1 is Staff Me Up. Tons of opportunities on there, so go check it out. Make an account.
I do believe it has a paywall after a trial period.
Now, what about Mandy?
I'm not the biggest fan of Mandy. I hear overseas it's a little bit better, but in the US, I actually have not met anyone that's been hired off a Mandy listing. You can try it. I think there are especially unpaid opportunities on there that have potential. Just tread lightly. There are scams on there. There are different things. Mandy and Craigslist are sort of hand in hand for me. I want to talk about one more website. It's actually on the newer side, but ShareGrid has recently been bought out by Backstage.com. So you might not have known about this, but you can actually fill out your ShareGrid profile to say what you can do on a film set, and it will automatically populate different gigs for you and send you emails about it.
Those were the 10 essentials of being a production assistant on a film set. If you guys enjoyed this, let me know your favorite part down in the comments. If you want to see more content like this, let us know, because maybe we could have Alec in again soon.
Let me know.
Make sure to subscribe. And Alec, do you have any closing thoughts?
I just want to say, try to do one good thing for the environment while you're on set. Bring your own water bottle, recycle, whatever it is. If everyone can just do one thing, it create a lot less waste, and film sets create a lot of waste. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Set an example. Thank you for coming on.
Of course.
We'll see you soon.